you can understand the Buddha has taken entirely a different aspect to introduce precept, commandment, or morals or ethical background without depending on any supernatural living beings or without following any religious commandments and religious laws, without depending on any reward from supernatural living beings, without creating unnecessary fear in the name of religion. The Buddha has introduced a very liberal religion for people to practice as religion of freedom and religion of reason. These are the two basic pillars, freedom and reason. Because in many of those existing religions, the followers cannot enjoy freedom, and they have no chance to use their sense of reasoning. Their duty is to follow, to obey, whether they like or not, whether they can agree or not, whether they can understand or not. Their duty is just to follow. The Buddha strongly advised not to follow any religion, any religious teacher, any religious principles or precept or commandment, not knowing or without realizing the significance of these observances. Example, we have no religious commandments in our religion. We have no religious laws in our religion. But we have religious principles, religious duties, moral and ethical code to discipline our mind for us to lead a respectable, noble, reasonable, harmless life. Now what is the difference between precept and commandment? The word that we use as precept actually is not a very meaningful word. The word used by the Buddha is sila. You might have heard Buddhism is based on three pillars, three principles: sila, samadhi, panya. Sila, moral conduct. Without cultivating our moral background, without observing our principles, without performing our responsibilities and duties, it is very difficult for us to go further, because the second stage is samadhi. Samadhi means calmness, peace, tranquility, satisfaction that we experience in our mind. If we have not cultivated our moral background in our day-to-day life, it is impossible for us to maintain peace, calmness, satisfaction, happiness. You can meditate without observing any of those sealers. You never gain real happiness or calmness or satisfaction, because there is no proper foundation. So your effort is very shaky, can collapse at any time. That is why moral background as sealer is important. Then the last item is panya, realization, understanding, wisdom, enlightenment. Without training our mind, we cannot gain understanding, wisdom, and enlightenment. This enlightenment will be completed after attaining sainthood, either as an Arahant or a Buddha, then Nibbanic bliss. So the first state is precept or sila. What is the meaning of this word? Sikkhapadang samadhiyami, silang samadhiyami, sila and sikkhapada. The meaning is, I promise to train myself. Sikkhapada, Panatipata Veramani, Sikkhapada, Samadhiyami. I promise not to violate this act of killing and to train my mind. That is called Sikkhapada. That is the meaning of sila. This is the word that we introduce as precept. So the word precept doesn't give this meaning. Then, the most important aspect is this. We have our own natural or intrinsic habits. Nobody taught us to commit many of those bad and wicked and harmful things. Our own habits. That is why by realizing our own weakness, and we admit we have, by nature we have some bad habits, then we determine or we promise not to violate, not to commit certain bad things that we can commit at any time under certain circumstances. When temptation or irritation, disturbances arise, those natural habits will be aroused. Then there is no controlling power to maintain our mind. That is called precept. That is called sila. When such ideas appear in our mind that we want to do this, we want to kill, we want to disturb, we want to steal, then the precept, apply the brake, not to do this. This is the way how the Buddha introduced commandment, your own commandment. our understanding. By knowing this is wrong, all the precepts are under the same category. Then, Sikkhapadang samadhiyami, I promise not to violate these natural or intrinsic habits, because from our childhood we started to develop. Although we have not learned even from our parents, this is our sansaric habit. Sansaric habit means what we have done during our previous birth, life after life. So these activities, mental activities, become our habits. Good things also like this. So we observe the precept by knowing our own weakness. It is not to please any God, to please any Buddha, by observing these religious principles. They are not religious laws given to us by any God or any Buddha. The Buddha has pointed out. This is natural, existing, universal law, not created by a Buddha, not created by a God, not created by any supernatural living beings. The world exists, living beings exist because of this. So our duty is to understand this. Because of our ignorance, because of our selfishness or greed, we are not ready to accept. That is ignorance. So we make mistakes due to our ignorance. Ignorance justifies our selfishness, justifies our wicked and cruel and harmful attitude. Our ignorance nurtures, supports all our mistakes. We justify, nothing wrong. That is the weakness. So religion is important here, not only for us to worship and pray, but to find out what religion can contribute for us to overcome our own weaknesses. Otherwise, religion is not important. So now you can understand the Buddhist concept or the real meaning of principles. They are not the religious laws given by the Buddha, given by a God. These are our natural existing weaknesses that religious pointed out, singled out one by one. These are the weaknesses. We have to study religion to understand this. Then we can understand we are like this. Our weaknesses are here. It is my duty to overcome my own weakness, because I am responsible for my life. Nobody else is responsible for my life. If I don't like to suffer, my duty is not to violate peace and happiness of others. But after violating peace and happiness of others, if religion is waiting to forgive your sin, that religion is more dangerous. Encourage you to do more and more. The duty of a religion is to tell you earlier, before you commit, before you disturb others, before you harm others, then all can live peacefully. And this is the duty of a religion. after committing and doing all sorts of dirty and cruel and immoral and wicked things. The religion say, come, I will forgive you, wash away all your sins. Very easy to practice. Again next day you can go and do the same thing. Buddhism is not that type of religion. That is why you are here, to learn, to know what are the things that you can do and what are the things that you should not do by knowing. On the other hand, why it is necessary for us to introduce a religious commandment? Because human beings cannot understand that they themselves cannot overcome their weaknesses and problems and difficulties without depending on any supernatural living being such as God. This was the common belief. That means man or woman does not know how to overcome his or her weaknesses, does not know how to find out final salvation, to get rid of all these existing troubles and worries and disturbances and suffering. Therefore, they have discovered, they have introduced the concept of God to depend on, to worship, to pray. Then they believe that He can guide you. He can tell you what to do and what not to do. Then they said, God has given these commandments for you to uphold, to follow. Then He will reward you. He will save you. If not, He will punish you, condemn you. All right? Let us start from the beginning. What are the commandments? What are the precepts? The first one is, Buddhism says, introduce us to promise not to destroy or not to kill or not to disturb or hurt another living being. All the other religions says the commandments or the order given by the God that you should not kill. I see the difference now. And then the Buddha says, if you cannot understand why this killing is bad, then you have to consider in this way. When another person comes and tries to kill you, how you feel? How you struggle to escape? How much you love your life? And the fear and tension, the suffering that you have to suffer at that time, you can understand. And then it's very easy for you to understand why this act of killing is bad. Is it necessary for you to get any commandment from heaven for you to understand this killing is bad? What is wrong with your mind? Why can't you understand that it is wrong? Is it is necessary for you to get a message from heaven to understand this act of killing is wrong. That is what the Buddha's argument. He says, when another person comes and tries to kill you, think how you feel. So if you try to do this to another person, and that person also gets the same feeling. With this understanding, you must try to keep away from this act of killing. So it is not a commandment at all. What happened actually, when people were not educated, when their understanding and thinking power was very low, to train this mankind, to guide this, they had to introduce religion in this way. Just like small children. Small children cannot analyze, cannot understand many things. The only way that they can train small one is by threatening, frightening. If you do this, the father will beat you. The mummy will beat you. If it is bad thing. On the other hand, if it is a good thing, if you do this, the father will bring you toys. The mummy bring chocolate. Then they will do this. This punishment from God and reward from God gets exactly in the same manner. It is children's language. It is not a religious language. Just to control the mankind. But when you use your human mind, sense of reasoning and understanding, you can understand. It is not necessary for us to gain any message from anywhere to understand that these things are wrong. These things are wicked. These things create misery, sufferings and worries. Therefore our duty is not to commit such bad things. Another aspect. If you think that you don't like to disturb others, kill others, steal others' things, if I do this, the God will punish me. This way of thinking, my dear friends, a small kid's way of thinking, a small children's way of thinking, very low quality, no reasoning at all. And you develop your selfishness. You don't like to do bad things just because God punishes you. If there is no God to punish you, you can do any dirty or wicked and cruel thing in this world. Now see the difference now. Therefore you should not think of your punishment. For your own protection, you have to think of others. When you go and steal others' property, how do they feel? When people come and take away your belongings, your things, how do you feel? Same feeling. So you have to develop your understanding, kindness, sympathy, or the good qualities in your mind, not to do this. If you think it is unfair, it is very bad for me to go and steal others' things, then you develop your understanding, kindness, cooperation, sympathy. Without considering or without developing such good qualities in your mind, you think, oh, I don't like to steal. If I do that, God will punish me. you never develop any good qualities or virtues in your mind. Think for a while. The Buddhist contribution, the Buddha's way of contribution of religious principles. So, Buddhist principles are not commandment at all. We never regard even as religious laws given by the Buddha, because the Buddha says in Anguttara Nikaya, whether the Buddhas appeared or not, the Dharma, these religious principles, exist forever in this universe. These are natural, universal, cosmic laws, not created by any god or any Buddha. Now assume this is a hot water glass, boiling water here in this glass. Then I put my finger into this glass, into this boiling water. So what will happen? My finger will be burned or hurt. So the action and reaction, the cause and effect, here we can see. Action is putting my finger into this glass. Reaction is burning. The cause, the putting my finger into this glass. Effect, burning. This is Dharma. This is the Dhamma that the Buddha taught us. That is why he said, this Dharma exists forever, whether the Buddhas appear or not. So the duty of a Buddha is to tell us, give this warning, not to put your finger into this. That is the advice of religious teachers. After putting this finger, without listening to the advice given by the religious teachers, when our fingers are hurt, it's very painful. We go and pray and worship, asking Buddha and God, forgive us, please forgive me. Next time please don't allow to burn my finger. Small children's language, my dear friend. This is the way how you practice religion. So our duty is to learn not to do this. So the commandments are the laws given by the God. If anybody violates any of these commandments, he becomes a sinner. In Buddhism, we have no sins. We cannot use this word, sin. Only those who have violated the commandments or the religious law given by the God commit sins according to their religion. Since we do not violate any commandment, we never commit sins. We make mistake. We do evil things. We do wicked and cruel and harmful things. We do immoral things. They are not sins. But in all these actions, all these evil deeds, we also experience the bad effect, bad result. They are not the punishment given by a God or Buddha. All these things are natural, just like the example I gave you. Action and reaction return. So our duty is to understand what are the things that we should not do. Then religion can guide you. What are the things that you have to do? Then religion can tell you. So without depending on any supernatural living being, we can develop our understanding. Without abusing our human intelligence, we can follow, we can practice a religion. If you say, I am forbidden to do this, to eat this, to go there, you are going against the Buddhist way of life. Because there is nobody, according to the Buddha's teaching, to do that. But according to your own understanding, I know this is wrong, therefore I should not take this. If you say, I am forbidden to take this, but you do not know why. That is why we cannot use this word. Somebody asked us not to do this. But as Buddhists we never say that somebody asked. I know that it is wrong. Therefore I don't want to do this. I don't want to go there. I don't want to eat this. I know it is bad. Everything according to our understanding, but not by depending on another person. So the Buddha has given us full freedom to think, to understand, without becoming a slave to your own religion. Again, if you say, or according to our religion, we cannot do this, you are wrong. You have to say, according to my understanding, not according to my religion. The religion taught you how to think. You are the one who thinks, but not religion. So according to my understanding, this is wrong. Then who taught you? Religion. You use your own thinking. Now if you say, according to my religion, I cannot do this, you do not know why it is wrong. Just because religion teaches you, you accept. The Buddha's advice is not to accept. Religion can tell you to do certain things and not to do certain things. Then the Buddha says you must analyze. How to analyze? The thing that you are going to do, you must find out whether harmless to others as well as harmless to you. And this is the way how to investigate. Maybe a very good thing to you, but harmful to others. And then we say, better not to do it. Very good for the others, but bad for you. Better not to do this. You have to consider everything, every precept, every religious principle in this way, whether it is good for the others as well as for me. And then you can decide whether to do or not to do. Not as a commandment, not as a religious law, not because your religion teaches to do that. When you refer to Kalama Sutta, the 10 advice given by the Buddha, how to practice a religion, how to consider, how to investigate, how to find out what to do and what not to do. Your judgment. There is no order from religion. There is no order from heaven. There is no order from the Buddha. Buddha is a very good friend to guide us, to teach us, to tell us how to think and what to think. Remember these two words. Many religions can tell you how to think, but they never teach you what to think. Some other religion teaches you what to think, but they never teach you how to think. Both you can find in the Buddha's teaching. First, he taught us how to think, how to prepare the background when you are going to think, how to attune, how to adjust your mind when you are going to think. What are the things you have to avoid when you are going to think? What are the things you have to invite into your mind when you are going to think? Then, what to think? What are the suitable objects for you to grasp into your mind when you are going to think? How to use your five senses? How to bring objects through these five senses when you are going to think? How to create your imaginations and mental image when you are going to think? All these guidelines you can find in the Buddha's teaching. So it is a religion which teaches you how to think and what to think. I am sorry to say, many of those existing religions never encourage you to think. Your duty is to accept what they hand over to you. Don't think. Your duty is to think this is right, all the others are wrong. Your duty is to accept their concept, their belief. Don't analyze. The Buddha says, always you must analyze. Try to understand what it is. This belief, this concept, this practice, this tradition, this way of life. Think. You have a mind to think, but you do not know how to use it. The Buddha wanted to open your mind to think, to see what is happening around you. Without accepting everything, without opening your eyes. So he encouraged you to think and investigate and observe. Think. Then you can understand nothing wrong with you. The whole trouble with you, my dear friend, you think you are a stupid. You think. But you do not know that you are not stupid. Elephant, such a huge animal, cannot understand the strength of an element. That is why this elephant obeyed a man who used that one to attack this elephant. Listen to that man. He doesn't know his strength because of ignorance. So in the same way, you do not know the hidden potential, the qualities in human intelligence. That is why you surrender to everybody. That is why you go and worship and pray and kneel down, bow down to everybody. Your thinking power is covered, closed. You have to remove the dust and dark cloud from your mind. Then you can understand that you are in the dark. You are not allowed to use your mind. By many of those religionists, authorities, they misuse and abuse. By knowing all these weaknesses, the Buddha had a very big battle with all those existing religious groups who did not allow human beings to behave as real human beings by maintaining their human dignity. They have become slaves to their religion. They had to suffer because of their religion. The Buddha wanted to wipe out all these rubbish from religion. Advise us, stand firmly as gentlemen, not as slaves in the field of your religion. Maintain your dignity. Not necessary for you to surrender everything to others in the name of your religion. Uphold your principles by knowing. Not necessary to say all these commandments, messages, advices came down from heaven. Do you think before these commandments come down to this world from heaven, there were cultured and civilized human beings on this earth who understood, realized that these things are wrong? They knew killing is bad, stealing is bad, committing adultery is bad, telling lies is bad, taking intoxicating drinks and drugs is bad. Before these commandments come down from heaven, there were human beings on this earth who realized these things are wrong. It is not that people could not understand that these things are wrong, but when their minds are influenced, when their minds are intoxicated, when temptation appears in the mind, they have no controlling power. That is why we make mistakes. So the Buddha's attitude is to strengthen our mind when we come to that particular juncture, when we are at crossroads, to apply the breath, not to do this if it is bad, to do that if it is good. Our religion is only for this purpose. Give this confidence, strengthen the mind to understand what to do when they are at crossroads, either to do or not to do. When you study the Dhamma, you can understand. Your understanding is capable enough, strong enough, for you to decide whether to do or not to do. Not necessarily look upward to get the message from heaven to do or not to do. You always depend on others. You have no self-confidence at all. You are behaving like puppets. You are ready to dance according to the tune that come down from heaven. But you do not know how to dance according to your own tune. The Buddha taught us. He said, don't dance according to the other's tune. You must know your own tune. Uphold your own principles. Develop your confidence. You have no confidence. You do not know the nature of your intelligence, hidden intelligence. You do not know how to bring up, cultivate this. So the main purpose of this religion is to pave the way for you to think and understand without abusing your intelligence, how to make use of this valuable life. Then self-confidence is there. Before his passing away, he said, Atta Deepa Bhikkhave Viharata Atta Sarana Ananya Karana. He closed his eyes, attained Nirvana. What is the meaning? After preaching for 45 years, giving all the necessary guidance and advice, in the end, he said, Atta Deepa Bhikkhave Viharata Atta Sarana Ananya Karana. In brief, the meaning is, develop your self-confidence. Don't depend on others for your final salvation. That's all. Because he knew all our weaknesses are based on this lack of self-confidence. If we can understand our strength, our energy, the nature of human intelligence, hidden human intelligence, then we never depend on others for our salvation, because we know how to find out. We know how to cultivate. We know the correct path. So, the whole teachings of the Buddha is depend on our self-confidence. How far you have developed your confidence about you. This confidence from the very beginning in our life up to the last breath, we have to cultivate. In your family, in your married life, in your household life, in your business, in every action there must be self-confidence. If you do your work with confidence, you get courage and knowledge and understanding to carry on your work in spite of problems and hindrances and difficulties, because you have already strengthened your mind to come across and overcome, to face, to challenge. Then you can go ahead. So if that mind is weak, if you have no confidence, always you surrender to others. You cannot go very far. You will collapse and everything becomes failure. So whatever you do, whether religion or your household work, your business, you must have that confidence. Confidence is not stubbornness. Some people have a stupid idea of stubbornness. Confidence means by strengthening mental energy, create determination in our mind not to give up, not to surrender, not to throw away. Go ahead. I know I can gain. I know I can win the battle. I know I will succeed. This is called confidence. We have to cultivate this. Then, not necessary to have any external power. We can understand many things. We are not small kids. So try to develop this. And I think time is over. I have to go out to attend another religious function. So these few words are more than enough for you to think. Because you have learned how to think. And you have learned not to depend on others, but how to develop your inner feeling, how to gain your hidden human intelligence. It is there already, but covered. Why it is covered? During our previous birth, life after life, so many illusion, hallucination, imagination, wrong concept, wrong belief, we have been maintaining in our mind. All these things remains in our mind, layer upon layer as rubbish. And these rubbish hinder our way of thinking. So when you remove all these rubbish from the mind, then you get back your lost knowledge, understanding and confidence.
For the past 1 hour, we have kept our minds peaceful and pure while listening to the Dhamma, and hence created good merits for the present and future. So let us then channel all these good powerful energy into an adhitthana or a resolution which is contained in the words that I'm going to read out. So please relax yourself and contemplate on the following. Let us recall to mind all the meritorious actions that we have done. This morning we have made the right effort to come to the temple, to participate in the Buddha Puja, to renew our faith and refuge in the Buddha Dhamma, so that we may learn to abandon wrong views and practices, so that we may learn to develop wisdom and compassion in our lives. These are all productive merits which will bring good results in due course. By the grace of these merits we have accumulated today as well as in the past, may we and our loved ones always be free from harm and danger. If we are faced with troubles and difficulties, may the difficulties pass away. If we are faced with sickness or ill health, may we recover to good health soon. May our homes and property be protected by the Devas, and may we always meet with success. May these merits we have accumulated bring us joy in performing what is right and to avoid doing what is unwholesome. May we always have the opportunity to listen and practice the Dhamma. May we make good progress along the path of Dhamma, so that one day we will attain the state of perfect peace, Nibbana, where all suffering will cease. By the power of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, may all beings be well and happy. Thank you very much.